Joe, good to see how you doing. Evening. How you been? How's things? Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Kamal, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? How's everyone doing today? Good, bad, or just starting out, depending on where you're from. Scott, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been, Scott? Bull XRP, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. So, let's do a rundown of what we're going to go through on tonight's live show. We have some data news to go through regarding BlackRock and some other high-profile institutions, some Ripple news towards the end of the live show to go through. So we're going to do a rundown of what we're going to be talking about on tonight's live show. What else? Good to see you as well. How you doing? Scott, good, thanks. Let's go. Even Miles, the CMF. JD, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? Hi, Miles. Tell us the good news. Let's go, G. How you doing? Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So on tonight's live show, on the CMF live show, we're going to be talking about BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest. Then we're going to be going through the news topic on regarding Bitcoin and Brazil, but not just Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies in general in Brazil. There's a massive demand for cryptocurrencies in Brazil right now. Then we're going to go through the news topic of Canada on tonight's live show. So Canada regarding exchanges, regulations, and policies when it comes to blockchain. Then we're going to talk about Vitalik Buterin on tonight's live show and this new concept he's introducing on Ethereum. Then we're going to be covering the news regarding 6 things the US needs to do to stay competitive inside the crypto space, according to multiple executives, high-profile US executives. Then we're going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding the CIO of a giant investment company has came out and decided to talk about Bitcoin's price point in 2024, where it could be headed, what we could be seeing inside the market movements, and regarding rate cuts that we could be seeing towards the end of 2024. Then we're going to be covering the news regarding John Deaton, because John Deaton has came out and made some claims regarding CBDCs. Then we're going to talk about the news topic of Ripple's RL USD stablecoin. There's a lot of testings happening. Their logo just got updated on the ledger for their stablecoin. So a lot of things are in motion for Ripple's stablecoin. And the discussion of, does the RL USD stablecoin add value to XRP, or if it doesn't, we're going to go through that on tonight's live show as well. Then we're going to be talking about central banks adapting Ripple and XRP for global settlement payments, a perspective from James Willis, the Vice President of Central Bank Engagements at Ripple. So those are the news topics we're going to cover on tonight's live show regarding Ripple, regarding BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest, Brazil, and some other news. Now, before we go through any of that news points, welcome to the CMF Live Show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live Show. It stands for Crypto Mouse Family. This is episode 168 of the CMF Live Show. We are live right now on X and YouTube at the exact same time, every single night, 11:25 p.m. onwards, UK time. On this live show, I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about if you're especially inside the crypto sector. And we also do Q&As on this live show as well, which means if you have any questions, do not be shy. Even if you are new inside the crypto space, put your questions down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you out. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So welcome to the CMF Live Show if you're watching this for the first time ever. And if you are new, welcome to the CMF Live Show. If you're regular, let's go CMF. And by the way, thank you so much to everyone that's retweeting this live show right at the beginning of the live show. I'm getting notifications. Thank you so much to everyone on X that's retweeting this live show right now and liking this live show and putting comments on the live show as well. Thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's liking this live show as well. So the first news we are going to be covering is regarding BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest. But first, let's just get rid of some weird people inside the comment section. There we go. Now, let's see where we were inside the comment section before we go through the first news. I'm getting more notifications. Thank you so much to everyone that's retweeting right now. Let's see where we were at. I assume I'm not first overall tonight. Man, I'm sleeping. Let's go, Scott. Good evening, Miles and family. Hope all went today, brother. It went great, Ian. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How do your meeting go, Miles? It went good, I would have to say. Manny, good evening. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Hey, Miles, quick question. Go for Woodhouse. What's your question? How can I check that my passphrases are right ones for Zoom, as I have had 2 accounts before, one with crypto in it and one with none, so I have become a bit wary. You can check in the settings if your passphrases match the account. So in the settings of Zoom, you should be able to see your passphrases. Anna, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? If you want, Woodhouse, I can send you screenshots of how to use Zoom on Telegram, no problem. Direct message, I'll take a look at it. Evening, Miles and CMF peeps. Semper, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, brother Miles and the rest of the family. Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? Anna, good to see you as well. How you doing? Share the live, family. Let's go. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Miles, we have some more losers on again. Yep, I got rid of them. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Spring Feather, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, my CMF family on YouTube. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. So, first news on tonight's slideshow regarding BlackRock and Fidelity. BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK essentially are leading the Bitcoin ETF surge, and Ethereum is actually not doing bad. The Ethereum ETF did start off slightly slow, but it's starting to pick up the pace. So, the total daily inflows of Bitcoin ETFs have essentially tracked by market data provider Sinister stood at $494.4 million. And weekly totals have hit $1.1 billion on Bitcoin ETFs. So you can see a massive demand from institutions. This increase in institutional demand occurs at a time when Bitcoin has broken through the $66,000 barrier, thus pointing to a favorable fourth quarter for the cryptocurrency sector. BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest, among other the top financial companies that had inflows into their Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock's fund brought in about $110 million of new capital, while Fidelity brought in $123.6 million worth of capital. Among others, ARK Invest, which targeted actively listed a much more disparate scenario, they brought in about $203.1 million. These large purchases indicate that more investors are viewing Bitcoin as a long-term investment, especially when BlackRock a few days ago announced that Bitcoin is no longer a risky asset, and in BlackRock's eyes, Bitcoin is a risk-off asset, which means it's in the same category as gold now, according to BlackRock. So this is showing institutional confidence towards Bitcoin ETFs in general, especially the newly added institutional investors who have been rather slow in their adoption in the past. Now they're much more quicker. GBTC sees renowned interest. In addition to ETF surges, Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust, a leading institutional vehicle for Bitcoin investments, experienced inflows of $26.2 million, which is nice to see because Grayscale has always been the outflow. Although GBTC has faced competition from more flexible ETF products, this renowned interest highlights a sustained appeal of Bitcoin's related assets across different investment structures. Bitcoin's bullish momentum, a strong finish for 2024. The present value of escalation of Bitcoin beyond $66,000 marks a very interesting time period, and overall beating optimism prevalent in the market space. This price movement, together with the massive institutional money inflows, has fueled hopes that Bitcoin may have a good closing at the end of the year. Essentials believe, essentially, that if the demand for the ETFs continue to rise, then the market is stabilized, hence attracting even more institutional capital, hence a higher price in the forthcoming months in terms of the quarter four is generally favorable for Bitcoin, and given the inflation adjusted for price returns and now back to pre-September 2009 local maximas, market observers are focusing on institutional investments as the next likely driver for Bitcoin's future returns. But here's the thing, it's not just for Bitcoin's future returns that the next clientele entering the crypto space is just institutions for Bitcoin's ETFs. No, in general, the next clientele, or the clientele that's entering right now, is just institutions, which not a bad thing, is a great thing. It's also something that I pointed out a while ago, that the next clientele entering the crypto space is basically institutions, which they have the biggest wallets. Let's just all be honest with ourselves. That's a pure fact, that institutions have a bigger wallet. All right, cheers, Miles. No problem. Hey, Miles, best information found here. Brooke, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been, Brooke? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and family. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? What's the CMF crystal ball prediction for the next week's market? In general, next week's essentially, in general, the next month that we're going to be going into, typically it's been a good, essentially, for the market space. But we have to put some other factors in. One main factor being regulations. Now, regulations, if they go off the map, then we're looking at market being quite volatile in that sense. However, we have more adoption coming in from institutions. We have regulations coming in from all types of, except the US, but other jurisdictions are moving very heavily on regulations. We have more institutions, more regulations, more bank testings, a lot of things happening inside the crypto space. Add on that on top of next month generally being a good month, it should be a good month. And if we do get the next rate cut coming in the following months towards the end of the year, which is basically priced in at 75 basis points. If we do get 75 basis points, then more money is going to be entering the crypto space. So starting next month, things should slowly start picking up, is what I'm trying to say. Hello, Miles. You looked into Open Ice Network. No. Actually, I've heard of it. Open Ice Network is the mobile app that you download and you click to mine something. Is that what it is? Manta, I need to see what their recent developments are before I give you a perspective on it. You can direct message me. I'll take a look at it, look at their team, look at what they're trying to develop. Do they have any contracts? Are they going to be in 5 years' time? And then I could give you a perspective on it. Just went off live, Miles, and Googled it, and they say they don't disclose them again. Please, dear, are you into airdrops like Hamster X, Empire, and so on? No, but I've heard of Hamster X. I've heard of the Hamster CEO project, which was a meme coin on basically Telegram's chain, which is Ton's ecosystem. Everybody presses a button to mine Hamster, and then they did an airdrop recently, which went completely south, and a lot of people lost a lot of time that they spent mining Hamster tokens. Is that the one that you're talking about regarding Hamster? Look, all those meme coin projects are just speculative assets, which means they can go south overnight. Just always keep that in mind. And always when it comes to airdrops, because your question is based on airdrops, when it comes to airdrops, please verify your airdrops before you download any sort of things. So always verify your airdrops. Some people connect their wallets to fake airdrops and then get drained. So when it comes to airdrops, verify the airdrop from where it's coming, the source that it's coming from, before you connect any of your wallets to any sort of random airdrops. Maybe I could log in another device to check. I might if it work. I'm not sure. I've messaged you. Okay, I'll check it out. Yes, it's the one thing that does, but I think we have been very early on ICE. So ICE is the one that you click a button and mine ICE. Okay, so it's like Pi token, basically. It's speculative. So I've heard of ICE token. I know what it is. It's a mining app just like Pi token. So it's completely highly speculative. If you want to go for it, it's free. You just mine the token. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. The only thing you're losing is time that you can never get back. But you're not losing money. Now, Bitcoin's demand. So when I talked to you about just now regarding BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest and how they're bringing in huge amounts of inflows, institutional adoption inflows, this could be another reason. Bitcoin's demand soars in Brazil as crypto adoption takes root. And it's not just Bitcoin that's doing extremely well in essentially Brazil's market space. It's cryptocurrencies in general. In 2024, Brazil is witnessing a notable surge in demand for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, driven by several factors, highlighting the country's evolving crypto landscape. This trend reflects Brazil's increasing adoption of digital currencies and their integration into everyday financial activities. Brazil sees a huge surge in cryptocurrency imports as demands go higher. The Central Bank of Brazil recently revealed a significant rise in the nation's cryptocurrency acquisitions, which are now categorized as imports. It's interesting that they're putting cryptocurrencies in the category of imports. From January to August 2024, Brazil's cryptocurrency purchases amounted to an impressive $12.37 billion. $12.37 billion, surpassing the total of $12.3 billion recorded in the entire 2023. This sharp increase reflects a growing consumer appetite for cryptocurrencies. Within the country, notably and essentially IOTA and Ubanca, the largest banks in Brazil, decision to expand digital assets trading to all users in June has largely contributed to this massive surge in Brazil. A recent report from the Valor Economic essentially sheds light on the key aspects of Brazil's crypto market space. The data covers both stablecoins and bitcoins and cryptocurrency trading activities in the region. And Fernando, the head of central bank statistics, mentioned that this distinction is vital as it suggests that the market is not only growing for cryptocurrencies, but also responsive to the evolving needs and preferences of Brazilian investors. Brazil's excessive crypto import sparks concerns. The increasing import of virtual assets outpacing exports in Brazil has raised concerns about potential adverse implications. This year, the Latin American country has recorded a significant trade, a deficiency of $11.54 billion. A factor contributing to this imbalance is that Brazil faces challenges in local cryptocurrency productions. This is primarily due to a high electricity cost compared to neighboring countries. Now, Livia, a partner at the BRCG, basically forecasted in May that this shortfall could climb to $18 billion by the year end. As more Brazilians embrace cryptocurrencies, there are also worries about regulatory challenges and increased risk of fraud and scams. The concerns also span across have potential implications for traditional financial systems. Brazil is the largest crypto market space in Latin America. The popularity of cryptocurrencies in Brazil has positioned the country as a critical player in the global crypto market space. Brazil has attracted lots of attention from investors and industry players, especially after pioneering the approval of the Solano ETF back in August. In addition, Brazil's regulatory framework has made it an appealing destination for major exchanges, including Ripple, Binance, and other investors. The country's strategic location as the largest economy in Latin America adds to the allure as a hub for crypto businesses looking to expand within the region. Brazil absolutely is booming when it comes to crypto sector. The reason why some Brazilian essentially economists are worried that people are running towards cryptocurrencies is because people are not spending their money on things in Brazil. They tend to save that money and invest on crypto assets, which is not really a bad thing. If people are saving their money and investing it, it's actually great that people are doing that. But they're seeing it as not enough money is being spent in the country and more money is going towards cryptocurrencies. They're also seeing it as a lot of people are illegally mining Bitcoin, which is putting a lot of pressure on Bitcoin, essentially on the country's electricity problems. And the other reason they're saying it's a bit of an issue is because frauds and scams are also skyrocketing in Brazil. But to be fair, frauds and scams are skyrocketing pretty much everywhere. You know, as we go more into a digital sector, as the world transforms more into a digital era, frauds and scams are going to get more advanced. I mean, just recently, today, Google released some sort of information that there's a lot of apps that they keep on removing from the Google Play Store that are fake wallet apps or fake crypto exchange apps that people download thinking it's the real app. And it's just a replica of a Binance app or a replica of a Coinbase app or a replica of a Trust wallet that are on Google Play Store. And people are downloading, connecting their wallets, moving their assets into it, and then it's gone. All their assets are drained. So please be careful as well when you're downloading apps, even from your app stores like Google Play Store or essentially the App Store on iOS, that there are replica apps and fake wallet apps that the moment you transfer your assets into them, they just disappear overnight. But I think it's amazing. Brazil's actually bringing a lot to the table. It's seen as the #1 Latin American country in terms of crypto hubs, and Ripple does have massive investments in Brazil. So does Coinbase. So does BlackRock. Now, moving off essentially Brazil's news to Canada's news. Canada has been extremely strict when it comes to cryptocurrencies. A lot of people think the US is extremely strict, and because the US is in our eyes, 24/7, all we hear is Gary Gensler suing this company, Gary Gensler suing this crypto project, and we always hear about it. But we don't hear much from Canada. And Canada is also extremely strict on cryptocurrencies, believe it or not. They don't have somebody like Gary Gensler. However, a lot of exchanges aren't allowed to operate in Canada. Stablecoins have difficulties operating in Canada. A lot of crypto projects have difficulties in crypto platforms. and crypto websites in general have massive difficulties in Canada, which never gets talked about inside the crypto space because everybody's very focused on the US side, which is very understandable. The US is the biggest market in the world. But Canada has decided to play ball, let's just say, with the crypto space, be a little bit more friendly with the crypto space. So Canada has extended its time for crypto exchanges to comply with their stablecoin rules, with their exchange rules, and they decided to basically give more time up because Canada was very strict. They said, you know, you apply and then we'll tell you pretty much very quickly yes or no, and everybody was getting straight no. A lot of exchanges had issues. I'll give you a list of exchanges that can't operate in Canada, but Canada extends time for crypto exchanges to comply with stablecoin rules and other regulations and policies. In a recent article, Canada's financial regulatory body, the Canadian Securities and Administration, stated that crypto exchanges have more time to follow the new rules and regulations for stablecoins and other policies. The initial deadline was around April 30th, then it was changed to October 31st, but now the new deadline is set for December 31st. In early 2023, the CSA introduced restrictions on value reference crypto assets. The regulations prohibited any stablecoins that is not backed by a single fiat currency. This means agrammatic stablecoins like DAI do not follow the CSA rules, which means they can't operate. The CSA also allowed crypto exchanges to offer stablecoins backed by single fiat currencies until it activated the rules on April 30th. Technical issues, daily compliance. Crypto exchanges face technical issues on a daily type of scenario, meeting essentially the initial deadlines of April 30th. The CSA set a new date for October 31st and then has now pushed it to a further deadline, December 31st. The Canadian government body stated that it is willing to consider other approaches for achieving or applying the rules and regulations. Additionally, the CSA stated that it's open to alternative proposals and that they will protect investors as long as they are in place and prior to the new deadline. This is what they said, word for word, this is what the Canadian government said. After December 31st, 2024, registered CTPs or CTPs that provided a pre-RU can only offer VRSCAs licensings that comply with the conditions of their registration and exempt from relief and decisions or their PRUs, the Canadian Securities Administration said. The crypto exchanges that left Canada. Many crypto exchanges have stopped serving Canadian citizens and residents and decided to leave the country entirely. This is due to difficulty in meeting Canada's regulations. Exchanges such as Binance are having major difficulties in Canada and pretty much stopped their operations. OKX Exchange is having major difficulties. KuCoin is also having major difficulties. And they all stopped their operations during the past 2 years. In late 2023, Binance put all Canadian customers into liquidation mode. OKX sent an email to Canadian users saying that it will no longer provide them services or allow them to create new accounts. KuCoin was banned from Ontario's Securities and Commissions. On the other hand, Kraken, Coinbase, and Gemini decided to stay in Canada. Kraken filed a pre-registration undertaking PRU with the OSC essentially back in 2023, attaining a restricted dealer status. Gemini and Coinbase are operating in Canada as restricted dealers as well. So that's basically a market perspective from Canada. And Canada is a big market space for cryptocurrencies. You know, the US is obviously the #1 market space, and then you have the Asian market space, and the Middle Eastern market space, and the European market space, and so on. But Canada is a humongous market space for the crypto space. But for some reason, the Canadian government is extremely strict. You see, with the MiCA regulations and policies coming out of the EU, they're giving a lot of time for compliance, and they're coming out with new regulations and new policies, and they're seeing what works, what doesn't. They're having communications with crypto platforms, believe it or not, and saying, does this work? Does that not work? Should we do this? Should we not do this? Canada, even though nobody rarely hears about it, they're just very strict. Canada says, this is what the rules is. Apply or don't apply, and get out. It's an interesting policy scheme they have going on in Canada, but they started to maybe slowly play ball with extending their time a little bit, at least, and their policies. Now, Vitalik Buterin is what we're going to talk about next regarding Ethereum. He's proposing a new concept on Ethereum to make it more decentralized. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. By the way, you know, this is a live show, so if you do have any questions, don't be shy, especially if you're new inside the crypto space. Put them down inside the comment section. I'm reading everyone's questions one by one and giving Nice and short, simple answers to get through everyone's comments. So don't be shy even if you are new inside the crypto space. 2.3 million X followers, over 300,000 holders, not even a year old, sparks my interest. Regarding, that's not the only thing that ICE does. That's do much more than that. And 2.3 million X followers, over 300,000 holders, not even a year old, sparks my interest. That's great that essentially ICE has achieved that much, but it's still a speculative, highly speculative asset. It could just be, when they do release an airdrop and they go stuff, but either way, it's free. If you want to go for ICE, I don't mind ICE at all. But if you want to go for ICE, it's completely free as far as I'm aware. You could just mine it on your phone, press a button, mine next to the app, if I'm not mistaken. But I couldn't tell you if ICE is going to be a successful project in any sort of a way, because they don't have any sort of major contracts as far as I'm aware. There's no institutions that's going to be utilizing it. There's no major companies that's going to be utilizing it. So it's mostly based on the retail section. So as long as the retail section shows interest to ICE, it has a future for itself. The moment the interest goes away, it's pretty much gone with it. So I couldn't tell if it's going to have a bright future for itself. For any crypto project to have a long prospering future for itself, it needs to have contracts. It needs to have contracts in place either with institutions or small companies, medium companies, large companies. It needs to have some sort of utility purposes that's going to be used, and it's going to be here for another 5 years minimum. And ICE's retail section purposes, it has no foundation, no structure, no contracts, no developments, nothing. Just retail section behind it, which is not a bad thing, but retail section is flimsy. Let's go CMF. Toby, how you doing? How you been? JP, good to see you, brother. How you doing? Morning, Miles of CMF. Shelly, good to see you. How you doing? Canada give them a piece of the pie. That's why. That's true. Canada only allows 17,000 Canadian dollars, $12,000 in other words, to be invested annually, but no limits on BTC. Wow. Thank you for that. I didn't know that. Thank you. Do you think Tether will fall this year or next year? Do I think Tether will fall this year or next year? The downfall of Tether is something that's going to be happening, is what I would say. The downfall of Tether is something that will be happening inside the crypto space, because Tether is too big. And the main issue with Tether is the headquarters. It doesn't really have one. So Tether is the #1 stable coin inside the market space. Not only that, it's the #1 US stable coin inside the market space that the US does not control. So that's a big issue for the US, massive issue for the US. And that Tether not having a headquarters, Tether keeps on printing money out of thin air, just like the US does. Tether having Chinese backers, whilst being the #1 stablecoin, whilst being a US dollar, not operating out the US. And Tether being used heavily for illicit activities, for countries that are evading sanctions. It's a lot of issues. And Tether was fined once for about $14 million. They were taken to court a very long time ago because the judge declared that Tether was lying about the assets that are backing their stablecoin. So Tether was actually caught out in a lie very long time ago and had to pay a fine for it to a judge because they said that they have a certain amount of assets backing their stablecoin, and in reality they didn't. So they were actually fined for a very long time ago. Until this day, until now, Tether is not transparent whatsoever. We don't know what's actually backing Tether. Tether claims to be, having a lot of US Treasury bonds and US Treasury so on and so on, but they're essentially not transparent to the market space. They have Chinese backers, which is not great for the United States. And as we all know, the US has the final voice inside of any market space. It could be the traditional market space, traditional financial market space, or the digital market space. The US will always have the final voice. Some people don't like that, but it's not about you liking it. It's about you understanding who controls the show. On that matter, regarding Tether's fall, is it going to be this year or is it going to be next year? I couldn't tell you if it's going to be this year. It might, the possibility of it happening next year is more highly likely, I would have to say. But it also can happen. It can happen whenever. Regarding Tether's downfall, it can pretty much happen whenever. It could be a massive surprise to the market space. It could either happen when you least expect it. It could happen when the market's doing excellent for itself, and then Tether suddenly does a drop. It could be, news comes out, the market's doing excellent, and suddenly the news comes out, Tether's been investigated by the US Treasury. That's it. Tether starts going sideways. and the market starts going sideways with it. But there's a lot of red flags with Tether that the US doesn't like, and the US has the final voice. Traditional market space or digital market space, the US will always have the final voice. And if they come out and say, we're investigating Tether publicly, pretty much game over for Tether. Massively game over for Tether. They don't have a headquarters. They have Chinese backers inside of them. Justin Sun, highly being looked into by the US as well, is pretty much best friends with Tether. I mean, there's a lot of issues wrong with Tether. Not having a headquarters, having Chinese backers, the people that, you know, the Tether CEO associates with, being the #1 US stablecoin, not operating outside the US, I mean, not operating within the US. There's a lot of issues with Tether. So massively red flags all over the place. I meant on certain cryptos, very picky. Are we going Tether? Yeah. Actually, no. Let me see where I was in that conversation. So do I think it's going to fall this year or next year? I think it's going to be when you least expect it. When the market's doing excellent for itself, and then Tether hits the bricks. Mr. Miles, I need you to dig in and talk about the blockchain space metaphors. If you know what the ecosystem metaphors, I need to look into it to give you a better perspective. I don't know what their developments are and what their contracts are in place. Supposedly, you can direct message me, Toby. I'll take a look into it. Supposedly now up to $30,000 on mid-2024, and that's on certain crypto qualified investors. If they are approved, can invest up to $100,000 now. I meant that's in certain that crypto that they are very controlling on which cryptos you're allowed to invest in Canada. Yeah, I meant on certain cryptos that are very picky. What cryptos you are allowed to invest in Canada? Very, very strange. It is when they try to control what assets you can and can't buy. Miles, we talked about it last year. They're going down. Yes, regarding Tether, yeah, eventually they will. Miles, yeah, definitely. Sorry, repeated the comment. No problem, my faces. Miles, did you see the post today in CMF Telegram? What do you think? Will you comment? Bull XRP, you have to be a little bit more specific regarding which post on the CMF Telegram group. There was a lot of posts on the CMF Telegram group. Which one are you in particular trying to ask me a question on? Just elaborate a little bit more, Bull XRP. And USDT was not as big as at that time. No way they have the packaging today if they didn't have it back then. So Miles, in the future, as a Canadian, if we are investing more than $17,000 allowed, should we just borrow against it if it's more, or just swap it and then borrow against it? Borrow against it is always the best scenario because you don't get taxed on debt. Borrowing against any asset is always the best scenario. Borrowing against your gold, borrowing against your properties, borrowing against your any sort of assets you may have. It could be art, bonds, derivatives, gold, silver, any sort of assets you may have, even cryptocurrencies. Borrowing against it is always the better idea, as long as you know as long as you have a plan of what you're going to be doing with the borrowed money, and then not getting taxed on it. It's the best way to skip tax. Is always to borrow against your assets, use them as collateral, and borrow against them. You don't get taxed on debt. That's why recently I shared an article on this live show, which was regarding Wall Street. And the data came out from essentially the CME watch tool and the CCD and the CC data regarding Wall Street, that a lot of institutions in Wall Street are actually using their Bitcoin ETFs as collateral to borrow against, and they're not deciding to sell at all because they want to skip on tax. If they sell their Bitcoin ETFs, they're looking at tax essentially. But a lot of people in Wall Street, in terms of the roughly was about $1.11 billion of borrowed money has been happening in Wall Street. In terms of Bitcoin ETFs, a lot of institutions are borrowing against their Bitcoin ETFs instead of selling them to skip on tax. Something the retail section should really adapt to. When the US has decided on Tether, it's their call. Yeah, basically, when the US decides, Tether's going down. Tether's downfall will pull back the market a lot through temporarily, of course, exactly. About the switch on October 1st. Regarding October 1st being some sort of a switch, look, what I would say is this year in general. So last year, in 2023, I said to everyone, that these are the things that I said will happen in 2024. Just want to put it in perspective. In 2023, I said that the Ripple case will come to an end in 2024. In 2023, I said the Ripple case will come to an end in 2024. And I said the reason why that will happen is because it's going to be the start of the world transforming into a digital era. And then I said there's going to be more institutions inside the crypto space. There's going to be more CEOs, more directors, more executives, more regulations, more banks, more of everything, because it's when the world starts slowly transforming into a digital era in 2024, which has been happening. We have more institutions, more banks, more regulations, more policies, more of everything. And 98% of centralized banks in CBDCs, either testing, implementation, or essentially implementation testing and so on. And this is according to Bank of International Settlements. Pretty much everything I said in 2023 for 2024 has happened like a domino effect. Now, regarding October 1st being a switch, what I would say is we're slowly into that switch anyways. Because if you look at it, as I said, more banks, more institutions, more regulations, more policies, more central banks inside the blockchain space than ever before. So we're actually within that switch. It has been turned on since January. It's just in motion. Now, if you're talking about an instant flip of a switch and everything goes digital, that's a different scenario. But if you're talking about something that's in motion, we've been in motion since January of 2024 until now. So being in motion, we've started in January. It started with the Bitcoin ETFs, and then it started with more banks coming in, more institutions coming in. It started with Wall Street coming in. It started with essentially BlackRock categorizing crypto assets, CFTC getting involved, licensings happening in terms of other jurisdictions, the MICA regulations, Dubai's VSP licensings, Hong Kong's licensings, Tokyo's licensing, Singapore's licensing. I mean, the list just goes on. So we're already in motion for a flip of a switch, and it started in January. So that's what I would say regarding, there was a YouTube video that stated October 1st is going to be when the switch is going to be happening. But what I would say is the switch has happened. It happened in January. It's just in motion. It's slowly in motion. Think of it as a train leaving the station very, very slowly. That's what I would say. But if you're talking about an instant switch overnight, that's a different scenario. I would say keep that as an outcome if you want to, not the outcome. But if we're talking about a switch in general, it's been in motion since January. We've turned that switch on January. And it's just slowly in progress now. That's what I would say. So you want me to comment on it? That's my comment. Now, Vitalik Buterin. Big money in motion. Exactly. Thanks, Miles. Stream forever, no problem. Bull XRP. Good enough comment, was that? No. Let's see. Vitalik Buterin is what we'll talk about next. So Ethereum is introducing, thanks, no problem, Bull XRP. Vitalik Buterin is proposing a new concept for Ethereum. So Ethereum wants to become more decentralized and less centralized. Even though a lot of people see Ethereum as decentralized and some people see Ethereum as centralized, Vitalik Buterin thinks that Ethereum is slightly centralized. So he wants to start making it more decentralized. And this is due to the MICA regulations in the EU. Because if you are a centralized crypto exchange, then you have to do certain aspects to be allowed to operate inside the EU market space. But if you're a decentralized project, you're pretty much exempt from the majority of it. Now, Vitalik Buterin proposes Ethereum's compatibility concept. Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum, has unveiled a new concept known as Ethereum compatibility to enhance a coherence across different sectors within the Ethereum ecosystem. This initiative stresses the necessities of value alignments, which encompasses not just technical and economic unity, but also the adoption of open source principles and the advancements of public goods. The Ethereum compatibility framework was proposed to strengthen decentralization and cooperation within the Ethereum domain. By aiming to bring together a diverse group like client teams, researchers, and developers, Vitalik Buterin seeks to cultivate a more cohesive ecosystem within Ethereum. Adapting open source principles, which are crucial for transparency and security, is central to this initiative, promoting a harmonious operation of projects on the Ethereum chain. The concept also emphasizes supporting projects that enhance public goods while maintaining decentralization. It aims to endorse Ethereum's ETH token as a primary token, optimizing its advantages and network efforts across the system. To gauge and encourage alignments, Vitalik Buterin suggests using specific metrics that mirror the ecosystem's core values, such as adherence to standards set by the Free Software Foundation. A focus on positive sum initiatives benefiting the entire Ethereum community is highlighted. Organizations like L2 Beat play essentially a crucial role in evaluating how well projects comply with these standards, acting as a dashboard organization that fosters competitive alignments with core values. These entities essentially are expected to function independently from Ethereum's foundation to ensure impartialness. The notion of compatibility aims to secure a future where Ether evolves dynamically and essentially unison, adhering to essential principles. The approach aspires to establish a more uniform and durable framework, both technically and financially. This initiative underscores the importance of integration and alignments for Ethereum's growth, promoting a unified and sustainable ecosystem. By focusing on key metrics and independent organizations, Vitalik Buterin envisions an environment where projects can thrive while staying true to Ethereum's foundational values. In a very, very simple form, recently there was some data that was released, basically. To put this in a much more simpler way, there was data that was recently released that a lot of people are starting to move away from Ethereum. And in terms of increase on wallets opening on Ethereum has decreased by 43%. So there's pretty much not that much new wallets happening on Ethereum's chain. And a lot of people have decided to move off Ethereum in general and go to the chains built on Ethereum instead. Because they saw Ethereum becoming too centralized, but they saw the projects built upon Ethereum opening doors for them. So people started shifting over to layer 2s, to layer 3s on Ethereum, and so on and so on. And Ethereum started losing some sort of user base, and new wallets weren't being opened up on Ethereum anymore, and the data showed that. So Vitalik Buterin comes out and makes a massive speech, and he talks about the Ethereum compatibility, the Ethereum standardization, the Ethereum decentralization, and so on. So using all these words, just to put in much more simpler form, they were losing user base, but they were losing user-based things built on the Ethereum chain. So it's not really that bad, but it's because people thought Ethereum was becoming too centralized, so they started going to things built on Ethereum instead. And now he's trying to make it more decentralized, more eco-friendly, more adaptable, easier for developers and researchers and so on to bring more people back on Ethereum. So Ethereum was losing user base, and they're trying to gain it back by introducing something called Ethereum compatibility as a concept. But in short term, they're just begging for more users. But again, they're not losing users to AVAX or so on and so on. They're just losing it to the projects built on Ethereum. So you can see it's bad and good, but that's a more simpler way to put it. They were losing people. Now they want to try to gain people, trying to make it look more decentralized rather than centralized, and it makes it easier for them to be inside the MiCA regulations while being a decentralized project. If you're a centralized project, you have to have some sort of headquarters, you have to have some sort of establishment and some foundations, some structures and so on if you want to be a centralized project under the MiCA regulations in the EU. But if you're a decentralized project, you're pretty much exempt from everything. So him introducing this is two birds, one stone. For essentially Vitalik Buterin, this is two birds, one stone. The first bird that's getting knocked out is basically him making this project decentralized so he can be exempt from a lot of scenarios and the MiCA regulations. The second bird that's getting knocked out by the same stone is basically him getting more user base for being seen as a decentralized project. So two birds, one stone is what he's doing with that big ass speech in a very simple way. Now, what we're going to talk about next is 6 things. The US needs to stay competitive in crypto. According to executives, multiple executives have came out and essentially said the US needs to do this or that to be within the crypto space because they're falling behind, even though they still have the final voice, but they're falling behind. So we're going to go through some point of view from different executives of crypto platforms and massive exchange and massive corporations. They've all given their, essentially opinion on the US, and these are high-profile people. The first one. So the United States blockchain industry is falling behind more progressive because of its jurisdiction issues, particularly in Asia, according to crypto industry leaders. It's falling behind, and Asia is taking the lead. Fiona Murray, the managing director of Ripple Asia Pacific, told Cointelegraph that a lack of open-mindedness in the US is driving business overseas. And while much of the industry is unhappy with the current regulatory landscape, there are other important factors curbing the US growth. Industry insiders and executives have identified 6 key areas that the US must swiftly fix and address if it wishes to stay competitive in the highly competitive global market space. Talent development is the first one the US needs to figure out. Anthony, the founder of Web3 Layer 1, Pastel, and general partner at a VC firm, Innovating Capitals, believes the US needs to do more in the nurturing talent space. Anthony told Cointelegraph that despite growing interest from institutions and investors, the US is struggling to attract and retain the talent needed to build infrastructure in the US when it comes to blockchain, as the number of blockchain devs in the US continues to decrease. To combat this dynamic, we need to focus on targeted efforts, like funding specialized blockchain trading programs in universities, fast-tracking visa programs for skilled foreign developers, or even supporting public and private partnerships to fuel developer initiatives. Finally, he also said, we would like to see the US bring forward talent-centered programs, including research grants and tax breaks for companies investing and developing in blockchain talent. Facts. The first category, and this was a massive interview done with Cointelegraph. Multiple executives did an interview with Cointelegraph, and each executive from high-profile positions gave their perspectives on what the US should be doing to stay competitive, to stay above everybody else in terms of blockchain technology and AI technology and so on. So this was the first perspective, essentially from Anthony, a VC firm. What he said is facts. In terms of developers, it's slightly decreasing. Developers tend to go abroad and work for other companies and so on. That's absolutely facts. In terms of what he said regarding institutions and so on, and funding universities, blockchain technology should be in education and so on, absolutely facts, it should be. There are universities in Britain right now, in the UK, that are teaching blockchain technology. There are universities in Ireland that are teaching blockchain technology. There are universities in China, in Switzerland, in Japan, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Dubai. There are education centers for blockchain technology, teaching students from all types of ages, something that the US is falling behind on. However, companies like Ripple and Coinbase have come together to invest money into universities inside of the United States as well. But this is something the government should be doing. Okay, the US government should be doing this because it's the island government that's helping with the blockchain technology being taught at universities. It's the Hong Kong authorities essentially putting blockchain education into their students, or essentially the United Arab Emirates essentially education system that's introducing blockchain technology, or Switzerland's government is the one that's introducing blockchain technology. This is something the US government should also be teaching in education. Scrap all the nonsense education that they're teaching about sociology and gender society and so on. Get rid of all of that, because that doesn't help nobody. But what will help students is if they understood blockchain technology, if they understood AI technology. This is something that can advance the country. This is something that can help students become more knowledgeable about the future we're headed towards, help them build a career, be able to afford a home, and do what they essentially want to do. These are the types of educations they should be teaching at high levels or beginner levels, not sociology or some BS about gender society and so on. All of that is complete garbage that you're never going to be using, to be fairly honest. So they should be teaching this in education levels in the United States. I completely agree. I mean, every country is doing it now. Switzerland, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Japan, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Ireland, the United Kingdom. Everywhere is starting to teach. The EU, for crying out loud, we have a Bitcoin essentially a Bitcoin form was invented in the German parliament yesterday. So they need to be teaching this at an education level. I agree 1,000,000% in the US, they need to start doing this and scrap any other, useless subject, completely scrap it. Banking is the next one. That's another CEO told, essentially, another executive told them. Banking, as Murray told Cointelegraph, essentially Fiona Murray from Ripple, told Cointelegraph, the US also needs to have a supportive banking community. Olga the Hack, essentially negotiator and founder of the Glue blockchain companies, according to Olga, the best ways to improve the US crypto industry are not very complicated and include making it possible to use bank without getting banned or restricted if they say the company is a crypto business. Olga, who is based in the US, but essentially founded a Glue, essentially, it's not a Glue company. Glue is a blockchain company, and it's based out of Switzerland. So Olga, based out of Switzerland, the Glue company, says the company would have loved nothing more to establish itself in the US. But she didn't. She established a company in Switzerland. She's a US citizen. She would love to have her blockchain company in her own home country, but she had to start her own blockchain company in Switzerland. But it simply wasn't possible for her, from a risk to perspective. Following the recent trip throughout Asia, Olga says there is very meaningful differences between how seriously folks in Singapore, Korea, or Japan are taking the industry versus, for example, the US. Goes on to say that the US can still catch up if it hurries up, but it's getting left way behind as of now, and anyone on the ground in Asia would agree. Major issue, without a doubt, absolutely major issue. Regarding what Olga is saying, she's mostly talking about how the banks are making life difficult for crypto companies. I mean, we had a very friendly crypto bank get closed down and put pressure on by the Biden administration. Yesterday, I shared something on this live show that the Biden administration pressured, essentially, Silvergate Bank while being pressured from the other side by FTX to close down operations. And how they did that was by telling them to sell off their crypto assets while they were losing clients because of FTX, which made the bank collapse. And these are the same people, some people are saying that Kamala Harris is crypto friendly, but Kamala Harris is the Biden administration, the same Biden administration that pressured a crypto friendly bank to close its doors and liquidate its assets. But yeah, facts. And they make it very difficult for them. The next thing Cointelegraph was talking to about these executives was user experience. Eric, the chief strategy officer at Propy, a blockchain-based real estate platform, says there is still some way to go before the wider public standards and accepts blockchain. A lot of people still see blockchain as this niche or overly technical thing, and that holds back adoption, said Eric to Cointelegraph. And while better public education would go some way to improve the matter, believes that the industry needs to focus on better user experience. Much of this onus essentially lies with the builders and leadership teams. We all need to be laser focused on simple UX and two-click digit interactions. This would solve much confusion around how to use blockchain after all. No one needs to be concerned about the back end of iPhone because interference is so simple. He's basically saying, to web developers and blockchain developers, make life simpler so all types of ages, even people in the older generation, could start using blockchain technology. What Eric is stating is maybe somewhat of an issue, but I do believe there are bigger issues inside the United States than UI and UX, essentially issues. But central bank digital currencies is the next one. And central bank digital currencies is a perspective from Donald Trump. Donald Trump says there will be no central bank digital currency, CBDC, in the United States, should he win the re-elections in 2024. But George essentially believes that the US is already lagging in this department, pointing out to a lack of commitment from both Democrats and Republican parties. It is imperative that the US allocate more personnel and funding to explore the feasibilities and implementations of a CBDC if they wish to keep up with the rest of the global economy. Establishing a dedicated task force, public research initiatives, or partnerships between the government and private sector via tax incentives or feasible benefits can also accelerate this process and ensure that the US does not fall behind in the global financial landscape. Facts. The US essentially is not. I've said this before and I'll say it again. There are too many politicians in the US, way too many politicians in the US, and everybody has a voice inside the politician space, which makes it an even bigger issue. The US needs to scrap the majority of their politicians. They're useless anyways. Not in general, just US politicians, but politicians in general are useless, and too many makes it even worse. So, and the New York one is also getting indicted as well. But in general, the issue with too many politicians and the issue of too many under-the-table deals is what happens with too many politicians and too many under-the-table deals with the banks and so on. And then you have somebody like Elizabeth Warren being best buds with essentially the FIDIC, which is for the banking organizations. So it basically creates too much confusion. And they need to start firing some politicians. You know, Donald Trump said one interesting thing. Actually, Donald Trump says a lot of interesting things, but he said one thing in particular that stuck with me. So Donald Trump, when he was doing the debate with Kamala Harris, Donald Trump said, actually, Kamala Harris said to Donald Trump that this man is getting rid of everyone and so on and so on. And that's not a bad thing. Trump replied back with, if someone's not doing their job, I'm going to fire them. And he basically said that the Biden administration didn't fire nobody. Can you believe that they fired nobody and they're ruining the economy? Donald Trump, when he was essentially the president of the United States, he was firing people if they're not doing their job properly. That's something that should be happening, okay? And I hope when he does become president, he starts firing a selection of politicians, because the majority of them are useless and they're just causing confusion for many areas and market spaces. Now, public and private collaborations. George Eads said to Cointelegraph that the United States government must also strengthen its partnerships with the private sector through initiatives like tax incentives for blockchain research and development grants, for pilot projects and collaboration standards for developments. He said this approach was necessary to bridge the gap between traditional investors and the blockchain sector. Also, Fiona Murray from Ripple pointed out to Singapore's progress in the real-world assets as one of the examples of what can be achieved when the public and private sectors cooperate together. Leveraging industry insights and regulatory expertise together results in a greater understanding of critical issues and effective policy solutions. This is something that Singapore does well, said Fiona Murray to essentially Cointelegraph from Ripple. Fiona Murray also cited Project Guardian, a collaborative initiative between the Monetary Authority of Singapore and another 20 industry players to experiment with tokenized real-world assets. International leadership is another big issue inside of the United States. Georgians would like to see the US take a more proactive role in shaping the future of blockchain industry standards by working with the global partners to establish essentially a system and frameworks. The US can ensure that its companies are not left behind out of rapid evolving global blockchain ecosystems. This leadership is essential for realizing the full potential of global blockchain firms and futures. Marcus, the co-founder of Decentralized Physical Infrastructures Network XYO, believes the US needs to protect its position internationally. The US needs to protect and even enhance its position on a global leader scale in the blockchain technology space to foster innovation, economic growth, and national security levels, which is facts. They cannot be falling behind in any sort of a way. Regulations. Big issue inside the United States. For many working in the US blockchain industry, this is the biggest issue inside the United States. For many working inside the US blockchain industry, the single biggest issue they cite is regulations in the US. The lack of clear framework for the US firms, coupled with the enforcement actions by the SEC, is viewed as a major stumbling block. For that reason, Tom Kindle, the co-founder at the Ripple-backed asset custodian Palisade, believes that the US should follow the EU's example, pointing out to the markets in crypto asset regulations, MICA. If the US wants to attract and develop a competitive crypto sector, it must develop a clear regulatory framework similar to that of the EU's MICA regulation policies. Chris Hart, the CEO of tokenized identity platform Civic, lamented essentially that the lack of legislative progress in the US, and this is what he said, word for word, various initiatives have attempted to win support along with the way to build new governing regimes, to pass essentially laws for stablecoins and bills, and to establish other stablecoin efforts, but no legislation has taken effect, leaving the SEC as the de facto rulemaker body in the US, Hart told Cointelegraph. Like Kindle, Hart pointed out to Europe's MiCA regulations as an example to be emulated in the US and by other regions around the world, including Asia, that are also ahead of the US, says Fiona Murray, Ripple. Singapore has established a clear taxonomy for digital assets, which allows for a broader activity-based licensing framework which balances innovation with consumer protection, Murray said. These rules on the road essentially can be applied consistently and transparently, which ultimately is what innovative companies need to thrive on. Look, this was a very big interview done with Cointelegraph. They had multiple executives from blockchain companies and non-blockchain companies like VC companies and so on to give a perspective on the US market space. And they pointed out major issues wrong with the US market space and why some of these American companies, American founders, decided to build their companies in other countries. They're blockchain companies, which is not great for the US market space. A lot of them did move to Switzerland. A lot of them moved to Singapore because it was better for them. A lot of them moved to the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, in other words. But all the things, and this, well done to Cointelegraph for this massive interview, getting all these executives pretty much in one room to do this interview in. But everything they did point out was facts. Every single thing that they pointed out was absolutely purely facts. Regarding the banking issues, regarding the politician issues, regarding the education issues, regarding the legislation issues, the most importantly, all facts. Couldn't agree or disagree with any of that. I could only agree. Now, I'm hoping that essentially some politicians get a clue, but you know. What we're going to talk about next is the CIO of a giant investment company whose revealed levels is his prediction of how the market space is going to be playing out going towards the end of 2024. But before we go through this perspective from a massive CIO, let's go inside the comment section first. And also, what's everyone's opinions? Before we go to the next news as well, what's everyone's opinions on what I just read out regarding the legislation issues, regarding developers leaving the United States, founders leaving the United States, regarding the banking issues, regarding too many politicians, and also regarding the education? Should blockchain education be taught at college level or essentially university level inside of the United States? Do you agree? Does everyone agree that blockchain technology should be taught in education and they should scrap unnecessary courses and subjects? They should scrap unnecessary subjects and introduce blockchain technology as a subject and introduce AI technology as a subject. Does everyone agree with that? Something that's been introduced in other jurisdictions. Ireland, for example, has blockchain education universities. The UK is introducing it as well. Switzerland has already introduced it. Singapore has introduced it. Hong Kong has introduced it. Japan has introduced it. China has introduced it. I mean, Korea has introduced it as well, South Korea. The United Arab Emirates have introduced it. Does everyone agree that blockchain technology should be taught in education and they should scrap useless subjects that nobody's ever going to use? So scrap sociology, scrap basically, you know, gender studies and so on. Just get rid of it. Nobody needs it. Let's start, you know, showing the younger generation basically. Let's give them a better future, in other words. Let's just give the younger generation a better future, where they can make a good living, grow their knowledge, be able to afford a home somewhere down the line. Instead of showing them gender studies or sociology, what useless subjects, honestly. What up, Miles and family? Ray, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? XRP just went to 62. Let's go, Scott. 100% Miles. The whole curriculum needs an overhaul. Can you suggest any organization? Let's go, Shelly. Facts. Can you suggest any organization that provides blockchain courses and certificates in the UK legit? Yes, but it's at university level, so you would have to be attending a university to do that. There are websites that you can study blockchain technology in, and they'll give you some sort of certificate from their own website. But if you want an actual legitimate certificate, then you will have to study at university level. Students ask all the time, why am I learning this topic? I'll never use it in life, and they are right. Let's focus on what we will need moving forward. Facts. Let's go, Shelley. Facts. The Western curriculum definitely needs a complete overhaul, though. Can Donald Trump truly succeed fighting CBDCs? It's a great question, Toby, and the answer is no. Nobody can go up against CBDCs. There's not a single politician, prime minister, or president that could go against CBDCs. Nobody can do it. Not even Donald Trump. Donald Trump can bring world peace. Donald Trump is the man that could bring world peace. He can stop and end all wars. He is that guy that can stop wars. But nobody's that guy that can stop CBDCs. It's just never going to happen. CBDCs have been planned and worked in the motion since 100 years ago. So it's nothing that they can stop in any sort of a way. CBDC is going to be happening either way. Being, sarcastic with 100 years, but it's something that's in motion. Nobody can stop CBDC. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. 98% of centralized banks. That's according to the Bank of International Settlements. And then you have the World Economic Forum, which is the most powerful people on this planet. And there are more powerful people behind the World Economic Forum as well. Then you have the International Monetary Fund, Bank of International. I mean, it's just one massive group that are running the show, and they want CBDCs. And there's not a president or a prime minister or anybody that can, or a politician that could stand against them. It's never going to happen. CBDC is going to happen either way. Yo, Miles, how you doing, Knox? But he can't stop world war. That he can do. And fix the US economy. He can do that too. Hi, Miles. Hi, Miles. Rachel, good to see how you doing. I've just recently got a Tangent cold wallet. Let's go. For first setup, would you suggest just having the cards as backup or also set up a seed phrase? I think you can do both. Thanks. Yes, you can. So, Rachel, I would suggest doing seed phrase. If you have a Tangent, do seed phrase. Just in case your Tangent cards stop working one by one or get damaged in any sort of a way, at least you have a secondary option of entering your Tangent wallets, which is through your seed phrases. So I would suggest that, just in case it doesn't work, your cards one day just don't work or they break or whatever happens to your Tangent cards. Even if you have 3 Tangent cards is what they give you, 2 or 3. If they all break or don't work or you misplace them or you lose them, if you have a seed phrase, you can buy another Tangent wallet, enter your seed phrase, and then you have access back into your account. So I think it's always better to do seed phrase option on Tangent. Yes, for blockchain technology, for sure. Teaching in definitely education levels. Oh yes, definitely. I agree 100%. Let's go, JD. Definitely scrap unnecessary subjects and give the choice of blockchain. Facts. Miles, stop finishing my sentences. I will stop finishing my sentences. Do you know anything about XPR? I don't know XPR. I don't know what the recent movements or contracts are in place. I don't know what developments they have going on recently at all in any sort of a way. But the other one, XRP, I have a lot of information about that one. But XPR, no. I need to look into what their developments are, Scott, to give you a better perspective. Direct message me, I'll take a look into no problem. Thank you. No problem, Rachel. Anytime. If colleges and universities taught finances and blockchain technology, we will be rich and there won't be poverty in the world. Instead, they teach BS. Shalom. How you doing, CCTV? How you doing, Shalom? Now, CIO of a giant investment company reveals his prediction for the level of Bitcoin price in the near future. Matt Hugin, the chief investment officer at Bitwise, believes that Bitcoin's price could skyrocket to $100,000 or even $200,000 in the near future due to the high demand and limited supply. Matt Hugin explained in a recent interview that Bitcoin's metrics rise up to 50% this year alone is due to the intense interest in new Bitcoin ETF spots. There's simply too much demand and not enough supply, Matt Hugin said, which isn't, he's not wrong, to be fairly honest. There was recent data that was revealed that a lot of people institutions are taking their Bitcoin assets off of exchanges. So there's a lot of assets, typically Bitcoin or Ethereum and so on, they're being removed from exchanges. So he's not lying. So Matt Hugin said the launch of Bitcoin ETFs have been major driver of this trend, he said. This is Bitcoin's IPO moment. We're in a period of new price discovery and prices could go significantly higher from here on out, he said. With Bitcoin trading near all-time highs of $62,000, Matt Hugin noted that demand for Bitcoin ETFs have increased across multiple investor categories, including retail investors, hedge funds, and independent financial advisors. However, he expects institutional interest to accelerate further in the coming months. After this interview, I will be flying out to meet with one of the top institutional advisors in the US about our ETF, Matt Hugin said, adding that wave of institutional capital could push prices even higher. Matt Hugin also attributed to Bitcoin's price increases a sharp imbalance between supply and demand. He cited data showing that around 30,000 Bitcoins were purchased by ETFs in a week, while BTC miners produced less than 3,000 new coins. Do you see the numbers now? 30,000 Bitcoins were essentially purchased in a space of a week. At the same time, Bitcoin mining institutions were pushing out 3,000 tokens. 3,000 tokens were produced, 30,000 tokens were brought from institutions brought 30,000 Bitcoin tokens, while only 3,000 were being produced. He also pointed out to the upcoming BTC halving event that recently passed, which essentially he said will go further to reduce the coin supply and put additional pressure on the prices as well, on the new one that's coming up. When you think about it, Bitcoin right now is just about supply and demand. The dynamics are unconventional, Matt Hugin explained. Looking ahead, Hugin suggested that Bitcoin could even surpass $200,000 if these conditions persist further. He expects innovation in the ETF space to continue, and Bitwise is also looking for new opportunities in cryptocurrency ETFs, with plans to potentially launch an Ethereum ETF by the end of the year. So now we know Bitwise is coming out with an Ethereum ETF this year. But he's not wrong. Everything he said is on the money, is what I would say. Definitely on the money. Because that data that was released basically a week ago showing that there's a lot of Bitcoin that's been withdrawn from exchanges. Demand is actually quite high for Bitcoin. The price isn't moving much, but demand is actually quite high. Now, what we're going to talk about next is John Deaton. Now, we all know that John Deaton is going up against Elizabeth Warren, and he wants to become the next seat for Massachusetts. One slight issue just happened. John Deaton decided to come out on live news and tell the entire world, all the United States citizens, that he's going to be challenging CBDCs. John Deaton said he's going to be challenging CBDCs. Look, I understand a lot of people don't like CBDCs. It's fully understandable. The reason why you don't like CBDCs is because they're going to bring control. Privacy goes out the window. Nobody has privacy in the CBDC world. Massive amounts of control, government control, and so on. So completely understandable. But he might have just lost his seat. On the subject of Toby asked me a question of, can Trump stop CBDCs? I said nobody can stop CBDCs. And anybody that goes against CBDCs, it's not a very good future for them. They will do everything in their power to make CBDCs happen, and nobody's going to stand in front of these people, these entities. Nobody's going to be standing in front of these entities when it comes to CBDCs. It's a very big plan. CBDC is a very big plan. Control is the biggest thing they have against everyone, and they want to increase that control. And they're not going to be letting any politician or prime minister come in between that control when it comes to citizens. So John Deaton essentially announcing this could be not good for his seat on Parliament. John Deaton has publicly criticized the creation of Federal Reserve issued central bank digital currencies for consumer use. He feels that this form of currency will disrupt private financial practices and give the government excessive control over individual spending, which is all facts. But again, he can't stop it. John Deaton cautions that CBDCs targeted at consumer pose significant dangers, despite the fact that they could improve banking efficiency. John Deaton also criticized Senator Elizabeth Warren's proposal. He also strongly opposed the CBDC issued by the Federal Reserve, initiated by Senator Elizabeth Warren. So Senator Elizabeth Warren is pro-CBDCs. She's against crypto, but she's pro-CBDCs. John argued that shifting away from cash to federal digital currency would ultimately grant the government lots of freedom in managing the economy. He believes that this will take power away from the people in terms of financial matters, which is all true, it does. But do you know what I don't understand? Why don't people like John Deaton understand that this is going to be happening? And maybe they do understand. Maybe people like John Deaton do understand that CBDCs are going to be happening either way. But they just don't want you to tell you the truth, because it's going to be happening either way. So they just either don't want to tell the truth to you that it's going to be happening and what you should be doing going into a CBDC world, or they don't really know that it's going to be happening because they don't understand how the economy works. They don't understand how manipulation works, how corruption works at high levels. Because a lot of people think they understand corruption and manipulation when it comes to the government, but in reality, they have zero clue. So it's either people like John Deaton know what's going to be happening, but they're keeping quiet on what you should be doing in a CBDC world because it's going to happen either way, or they really don't comprehend that it is going to be happening. And they're telling people, I'm going to fight against CBDCs. In reality, no, you're not. It's the reality of it. It's going to be happening either way. I'll give you an example. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. So now we're talking about essentially the Bank of China, the Bank of Saudi Arabia, the Bank of Kuwait, the Bank of Bahrain, the Bank of the United Kingdom, the Bank of the EU, the Bank of Singapore, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of Hong Kong, and the Bank of South. The list of countries just goes on and on and on. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. And do you think all of these centralized banks around the world are going to go, hang on a minute, John Deaton said he doesn't want CBDCs. Everybody stop your operations. No more CBDC testings because John Deaton said no to CBDCs. Do you understand? You have to be extremely delusional to assume that you can be the person to stop this motion, essentially this plan in motion. Do you think central banks are going to go, hang on a minute, John Deaton said no CBDCs. We're going to stop CBDC productions right now because this man said he wants to stop us. They couldn't care less. So people like John Deaton, instead of keep on coming out and saying, we will stop CBDCs. How about you tell us? How about you tell other people? Because I already know. How about you start telling people CBDCs will happen no matter whether you like it or not. And this is what you should be doing to benefit in a CBDC world. Instead of keep on coming out and telling us, oh, I'm going to stop CBDCs. I'm the politician that's going to stop CBDCs. No, you're not. Would you think every centralized bank around the world is going to go, hang on a minute, John Deaton said no CBDCs, so we're going to stop CBDCs. Do you think the Bank of South Korea cares? Do you think the Bank of China cares? The Bank of UK cares? The Bank of the EU cares? The Bank of Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Singapore, every country that I list, 98% of centralized banks with CBDCs. Do you think any of them care? John Deaton just came out and said no to CBDCs. They couldn't care less, which means it's going to happen either whether you like it or not. So how about from politicians from now on, instead of coming out and going, I'm going to stop CBDCs, because in reality, you can't. How about you just tell people the truth? CBDCs are going to be happening whether you like it or not, and nobody's going to be able to stop it. So how about you start telling people how to benefit in a CBDC world, instead of telling people lies, just so you can get their votes? Because that's what you're doing. You're lying for votes. And I genuinely thought John Deaton was better than this, because he perceives himself as someone that's a man of the people, someone that's going up against, manipulative, corruptive politicians. But you're just doing the same thing. What do politicians do day out and day in? Lie for votes. And that's what you're doing right now. You're lying to the people that you're going to be stopping CBDCs. This is why you should vote for me. But you're not going to stop CBDCs. Even you know that. So be the better person, come out and tell the people the truth. Every politician, come out and tell the truth. Not a single one of you can stop CBDCs. It's going to be happening either way. And stop telling people what to do in a CBDC world, how to benefit from CBDCs coming in. Instead of telling people lies of, I'm going to stop CBDCs. No, you're not. Nobody can. Honestly, it's like they think the Bank of China and Japan and Singapore and South Korea and the UK, the EU and Canada and every single Australia, every single centralized bank is going to go, let's just stop our operations because John Deaton said he wants to stop CBDCs. They couldn't care less if any president, any politician, any prime minister came out and said, we're stopping CBDCs, vote for me. They're all lying to you. If any politician comes out, or anyone trying to become a politician comes out and says he's going to stop CBDCs, he can't. Some politicians might believe they can stop CBDCs. In reality, they can't. Honestly, some politicians might actually believe they can stop CBDCs. In reality, they can't. But some politicians are just lying to you when they say they're going to stop CBDCs because nobody can. So start telling people the truth. CBDCs, it's going to be happening 1 billion%. And this is what you should do to prepare yourself in the CBDC world. Instead, don't come out and say, I'm going to stop CBDCs. It will never happen on my watch. What? You think central banks are honestly going to go, hang on a minute, he said he's going to stop us. Let's stop all operations. It's like you're living in some lol delusional land. Honestly. And the simple answer is how to benefit in a CBDC world. If any of these politicians had kahunas to tell the people the truth, how to benefit in a CBDC world is by going for the backbone of a CBDC world. And the backbone, 24,000 crypto projects, and only one has an active CBDC platform. Out of 24,000 crypto projects, only one has an active CBDC platform. Only one has multiple CBDC awards. Only one has essentially a CBDC that's being used by specific countries. Only one does multiple speeches of World Economic Forum. Only one crypto project essentially is on documentations of every centralized banks in terms of testings. Only one is on the PDF documentation for the Bank of International Settlements Cross-Border Payments. And only one, I can go on for days and just say only one crypto project has all of this in the CBDC sector, and it's Ripple. Doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. So benefit from a CBDC world? Ripple. It's the backbone of a CBDC world. That's how you benefit from a CBDC world. So you have two options. Keep on believing in these politician lies. Oh, yes, we're going to stop CBDCs. No, you're not. Or you can get with the program and understand how you can benefit from CBDCs. Honestly, it's just absolute pure lies back to back. As if any politician... The only person that can stop CBDCs is God. I agree with that one. I agree with that one. The only person that can stop CBDCs is God. Nobody else can stop CBDCs. Facts. We played the game. Like politicians usually say what people want to hear, even when if there's going to be happening or not. Anyone who speaks out will be dealt with using artificial intelligence. Facts. Let's see where we were at. Is it true that there's another planet coming directly towards Earth so fast and they haven't figured out how to deal with it as yet? And that's why we're having Diddy's destruction. What's your take? No. Lena, regarding there's a planet coming towards Earth and they don't know how to stop it because of its destruction. And that's why they've essentially captured Diddy. No. The reason why they went after Diddy is because at the same time, there was a company called 21andMe, something like that. So 21andMe was basically people sending in their DNAs and they do testings and they, on their app, they'll tell you which country you're born from. Now, 21andMe has done millions of DNA testings, millions. So they have millions of supplies of DNA testings. 21andMe was hacked on the same pretty much day Diddy was arrested. So millions of DNA data was hacked and stolen from 21andMe, and at the same time Diddy was arrested. So millions of data was stolen, DNA data. And we're going into a digital world. So millions of DNA data was stolen, and then the executive board members of 21andMe left, and the CEO was left. The executive board members just left. Only the CEO was left, and the CEO decided to make it from a public company to a private company. It's a big issue. You just became compromised as a DNA company, and all of that DNA is gone. Millions of people's DNAs hacked, compromised, gone. At the same time, Diddy gets arrested. That DNA could be used for all types of things. All types of things. That DNA could be used for specific drugs on types of people. It could be used in malicious ways, that DNA. So for anyone that was doing these 21 tests on me just to find out which country they belong to, yeah, your DNA was just stolen. Next time you want to know which country you belong to, it's very easy. Just ask your parents. There we go. Just saved your time from your DNA being stolen. But that's basically what's happened. John Dayton must have known CBDC is happening, whatever happens. Anyone who speaks out will be dealt with using artificial intelligence. Yep, politicians usually say what people want to hear, even if they know what is going to happen. Yep. We have to play the game and look after our own facts. Let's go here. The only person that can stop CBDC is God. Facts. Miles, you're the best. Love your comments. Let's go, Bull XRP. Thank you so much. Like Kamala says, she's pro crypto and not a lie. Yeah, Kamala's not. Yeah, facts. Absolute pure lie. Facts, Miles. Failure to prepare is prepare for failure. Basically, let's go, Ian. Family, if you don't mind, please share the live. Let's go. Family, if you don't mind, please share the live. Let's go, Scott. Miles, would you trade all your crypto for CBDCs to never be launched? That's an interesting question. But I just want to say thank you so much, Sam, for £20 donation. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the £20 donation, Sam. It's going straight into the CMF hedge fund just for starting it up. Every little helps. And thank you so much for the £20 donation. Straight to the CMF hedge fund. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the contribution. And now answering Woodhouse's question. Miles, would you trade all your crypto for CBDCs to never be launched? It's an interesting question. Before I answer it, a question to everyone else. Woodhouse's question. What would you say? It's an interesting question. So Woodhouse's question, what would everyone say to that as an answer? So I'm going to read it out, and everyone put your comments inside the comment section. So Woodhouse said, would you trade all of your crypto assets for CBDCs to never be launched? Everyone put your comments in the comment section right now. The question, once again, would you trade all of your crypto assets for CBDCs to never be launched? So give up all your crypto assets, and in return, CBDCs will never be launched. So you give up your value and your money and your assets for CBDCs to never be launched. So everybody gets saved by you, in other words. Would you do it, yes or no? Everyone put your answers in the comment section. Would you trade your assets, your crypto assets, for CBDCs to never be launched? Greetings from the Arctic Circle. How you doing, Frozen Rose? Many thanks for your contribution, Sam. Absolutely. Even the Mouse, the interest best crypto guru. Let's go, I am Rebel. How you doing? Absolutely, all those people. Okay, here we go. We got some answers, and everybody put your answers inside the comment section. Would you give up your crypto assets so CBDCs don't happen? I'm getting some interesting comments. I'll just read it to myself, but I'm going to read it out loud now. So, Scott says, nope. Scott will not give up his crypto assets for CBDCs never be launched. Joe says also no. Woodhouse says yes, he would give up his crypto assets for CBDCs never be launched. Ray says no. JD says definitely not more option with crypto. Woodhouse says, if you say no, isn't that just greedy? It's an interesting perspective, but I'll also give you my perspective at the end. Chillzone just says, if I'm in crypto, I don't care about CBDCs. I Am Rebel says, nah, that's not going to happen. Ian says, some people have more than others' mouths. Hard one to answer. G says, no. Orphan says, no, because this family is taking advantage of CBDCs. We are ready. Let's go, Orphan. Lena says, no, I wouldn't, because it would make no difference at all. Woodhouse says, Miles, what you say? My answer is no. I wouldn't give up my crypto assets so CBDCs don't happen. Because if CBDCs don't happen, let's just say I give up all my assets and CBDCs don't happen. There'll be something else that will happen. Some other form of control will happen. So let me get a head start on this control before it takes off. I'm just being fairly honest. If this CBDC thing doesn't happen because I give up my crypto assets and CBDCs don't happen, there'll be another form of control happening instead. So I might as well keep my crypto assets and get a head start on this control. Not being greedy, just, as I said previously, you're going up against corrupt, manipulative people. Very weird thought patterns these types of people have. The World Economic Forum, these family members, and the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements, they are very corrupt and manipulative people with their thoughts. So if I give up my crypto assets in a hypothetical way, I give up my crypto assets and CBDCs don't happen, there'll just be something else that will happen instead of CBDCs. But at least with this one, I have control over it. That's what I would say. It's not about greed. It's about thinking correctly. You got to think about who you're going up against. Greedy with my small portion, guarding it with my last breath. Future is uncertain. Fair enough, Lena. I get your point, Miles. That question is based on an assumption that he thinks life will stay the same. Cash, ridiculous US debt, higher than GDP. I can't even begin to answer. Yeah, that's what I would say. No, they want you to look left when the action is on the right. Yep, I feel the same way, Miles. That's a sad thing to assume. It's being greedy when you don't realize the plans many of us have for helping humanity with our crypto wealth. We are the chosen ones. Facts. Now, moving on to Ripple news. We'll have a head start. Exactly. What more can they control apart from money? What more can they control apart from money? A lot of things. Well, here's the thing. In a CBDC lifestyle, we're going to have social credit systems attached to it. It's something that was discussed in the World Economic Forum. In the 2024 World Economic Forum events, they discussed the matters of a social credit system. It's something that was tested for 10 years. Social credit systems being attached to your CBDC wallets was tested for 10 years by the Bill Gates Melinda Foundation. And it was announced in the World Economic Forum 2024 at the beginning of the year. So they can control a lot more. They can control essentially your money in a CBDC lifestyle. Along with social credit systems, they can control where you go, where you eat, where you stay, where you spend, what you drive. Well, in terms of what transportation you're going to be taking, they're going to be controlling every aspect of your life, step by step, obviously. They're going to be bringing it step by step, so you don't get, essentially surprised and everything happens all at once. But they're going to be bringing everything step by step. And by the time anyone realizes it, it's too late. There's no going back. They started slowly. They started essentially with congestion charges. They started with LES charges, ULES charges, eco-friendly charges. cycle charges, and then it just kept on going, expanding, and then it's just everything that they introduced to squeeze money out of you is a test. Everything is essentially governments will introduce, anything that governments will introduce, it's all tests. They're just testing you to see what is your limits, basically. You know, will these people pay congestion charge driving into central London? Will these people pay less charges? Will these people pay you less charges? Will these people essentially pay this charge or that charge or this charge or that charge? Will these people listen when we say stay at your homes? Will these people listen to us when we tell them they need to start using digital IDs to travel? Will these people listen to us when we start doing that? And everything that they're doing is just testing your limits to see how compatible you are to listening. And if we keep on listening, which is exactly what we're doing, it's going to get to a stage where there's no coming back. And then the infrastructure is going to be so strong that you can pretty much never go against it. They're all just testing your limits, basically. Because the government is supposed to serve you, but somewhere down the line, the government is supposed to serve the public. It's the role of the government to serve the public. But somewhere down the line, the tables turned and we started serving them. They're supposed to be serving us, but somewhere down the line, the tables turned and now we're serving them. And ever so since, we're still serving them. CMF, if you're enjoying entertainment, please share live. Let's go. CMF, if you mind sharing entertainment with us, let's go. Let's go, Scott, for saying that. Everyone share the live. Honestly, if you enjoyed it. What more than control? Everything. If you can fly. You can escape, though? No. Can you escape? No. There's no escaping. You can maintain. You can, borderline escape. But fully, no chance. You can borderline escape. You can make your money. You can buy your properties. You can take your vacations. You can enjoy life as long as you keep your mouth shut. You decide to open your mouth is a different scenario. But, living in this type of world, it's make your money, put your head down, help your family, help people you want to help, and enjoy life. Or you can be the other aspect and, essentially have the money and try to go against it, which ends bad for a lot of people. So it's two options. But can you fully escape it? No. You can never fully escape it. In 20 years, can you go from CBDCs to crypto by some way, business or something? Anything's possible. Are there underground cities that are not prohibited from us where we can relocate to escape the matrix? No chance. Why can't you escape? Because you can't. There's no exit. In this world, there's no exit. There's never been an exit. The idea of an exit has essentially existed. People say, make a lot of money and you escape the matrix. If you make millions of dollars or billions of dollars, you can escape the matrix. You can't. There's no escaping whatsoever. The money that you have, the millions and billions of dollars you have, you're using that to go against the people that print that money. And you think you have power and authority? You're using the money that they printed to go up against them. They're printing the money. They couldn't care less if you had millions or billions in the bank. They're the ones printing it for you to use. But then do you have this perception that you could go up against people who print the money? They're printing the money. So you flaunting millions and billions of dollars in front of these people in governments and saying, I can go against you if I wanted to. No, you can't. There's no escaping. There's never been an escape route. There's a maintain route where you can make your money, keep your head down, and just focus on your own life and family's life. But the idea of escape is just not possible. It's never been possible. There's only one possible way. Okay, let me just be fair, there's only one possible way. But nobody's taken that route before. There's only one possible way, but nobody's taken that route before. If you want to, I'll give you an example. If you want to win, I'm not going to tell you what I'll give you one example. I'm not going to tell you exactly step by step, but I'll give you one example. There's only one possible way. If you want to beat someone at their own game, you just have to get better at it. You can't go against the rules, but you can use the rules to your advantage. Okay? You can't go against the rules, but you can use the rules to your advantage. It's like a semi-escape route. So if you get, this is just basically one big game. It's one big game. So if you get better at playing the game, you can go up against the rules. But you need to reach a certain level. It's one big game. Play the game, reach a certain level, change the rules. But you need to do it on their terms. You do it on their terms until you reach a certain level when you don't have to. But that's a very difficult route that nobody's ever been able to take. Not a single person on this planet has been able to take that route. But if you want to beat someone, you got to beat them at their own game. Don't invent new rules. Don't invent new methods. No. Play them by their rules. Play the game by their rules. Climb the ladder by their rules. Reach a certain level, then change the game. But not a single person has ever been able to do that. Now, because everybody wants to go against the system by making their own rules. That won't work. You got to play by their rules. Climb the ladder by their rules. Reach that level, then change the rules. Creating wealth from CBDC, so not using government's money, but doing something other. Yep. Remember, the algorithm is improved by your comments during or after the show. Anything possible? I'm just thinking about my people. Why can't you escape? Remember, algorithm is improved. Yeah. I've just lost all respect for John Deaton. I don't mean escaping CBDCs. I mean making wealth in any way or shape or form. Yeah, you can make weight. You can make wealth. I don't mean escaping. No, you can make wealth. You can make wealth. If your question is based on making wealth, you can make wealth. Creating wealth from CBDC, so not using government money, but doing something or other. You can, there's a possibility. If someone gives you a job, for example, in a company that hands out CBDC wages, for example, you can, yes. Facts, there is no exit. Once again, you must adjust your life accordingly. The old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Ride the snake, Miles, ride the snake. there is a way then. Yes, if you do want to, if you're stuck in a CBDC world and you want to join the crypto space, if you get a job in a crypto company, you can get paid in cryptocurrencies for your wages. You can escape in that sense of manner. Yes, facts, Miles. Only easy to escape is to leave Earth. Is there a higher authority that can hold them accountable legally? No. God, yes. All facts, just play the game to try and win, and that's it. Just facts, just the game, pretty much. Be smart, financially free, don't go against anyone, live your life very simple. Yep. They know already pretty much what we like or not and our habits, where we spend our money. Yep. John Lennon tried it. They got him in the end. John Deaton is speaking to the majority of the people who don't realize how CBDCs are worldwide programs, and once he's elected, he could say he did his best. However, it's global form that he cannot win against. He puts up a fight. Facts. Absolute facts. What Happy Pisces said. It's just a tactic they would use for votes. Bilal, how you doing? Brother Kaziz, how you doing? If you get hands on crypto, you can build up. Yep. If you get your hands on crypto, you can build up. Or somewhere down the line, I can even give you a job in CoinMove, and your wages will be in crypto. If I give a job to anyone in CoinMove, if anyone applies for a job to work in CoinMove, your wages will be paid in crypto. So if you're too late in joining the crypto space and you want to earn some crypto in a CBDC world, you can work for crypto companies. So if you work for my company, for example, your wages will be paid in crypto, not in CBDCs. But maybe if you start a business in CBDCs and it goes well, you can apply for wholesale CBDCs, and that's fine. You don't need crypto if you have wholesale CBDCs. True up to a certain extent, but wholesale CBDCs are still programmable. They're better than retail CBDCs, I'll give you that. Wholesale CBDCs are better than retail CBDCs, but wholesale CBDCs are still programmable. But better. Now, what we're going to talk about next is essentially Ripple's stablecoin. But maybe if you Ripple's stablecoin. So, moving off the John Deaton news to Ripple stablecoin and Elizabeth Warren news. Ripple advances its stablecoin initiative and issues another 350,000 RL USD. Ripple has expanded its stablecoin operations by minting an additional 350,000 tokens of its RL USD stablecoin with a span of 24 hours. They printed this. This activity was carried out in two separate transactions, one consisting of 300,000 RL USD and the other consisting of 50,000 USD. The process was monitored by Ripple, the stablecoin tracker, a community-driven XRP ledger account that tracks the issuance of redemptions of these stablecoins. Ripple sets the pace with a massive 350,000 RL USD stablecoin mint. According to the Ripple stablecoin tracker, the recent minings marks a significant step in the testing phase of RL USD. The issuance occurred through two separate transactions, one for 300,000 RL USD and the other for 50,000. This testing phase is crucial for ensuring RL USD meets the highest standards of security, efficiency, and reliability before its full-scale launch. The minting demonstrates Ripple's commitment to advancing its stablecoin offerings and enhance the liquidity and functionality of RL USD. Most recently, the XRP companies reported issuing a record of 485 RL USD stablecoins, its largest single batch yet, but now we have 350,000. The private beta testings of RL USD aims to streamline the integration process across different blockchain platforms. This phase is vital for gaining regulatory approvals and for ensuring that the RL USD can operate across various blockchain essentially environments. The XRP ledger upgrades enhance stablecoin efficiency. There are upgrades right now happening on the XRP ledger. The recent essentially enhancements in the XRP ledger are also pivotal in the optimal functionings of RL USD. The two major amendments, Fix Empty DID and Fix Previous Texan ID, were activated on the XRP ledger mainnet, improving the ledger's efficiency. These updates will boost the stability and reliability of Ripple's stablecoin operations. These will impact RL USD's performance and its integrations within the broader ecosystem. These technical upgrades facilitate a more robust framework for Ripple's stablecoin initiatives. This will make the infrastructure supporting RL USD align with the latest blockchain innovations. In addition, the legal environment surrounding digital currencies remains a significant aspect of Ripple's operational strategy. Recent developments in the XRP versus Ripple case have brought to light challenges faced by blockchain enterprises. And here's something interesting, something that I've been talking for a few days now. Insights from legal experts suggest that the SEC's potential appeal against a favorable ruling for the Ripple in the XRP lawsuit may have limited success. Remember how everyone was tweeting, oh, the SEC is going to appeal the Ripple case, and that's another 3 years, and this is bad for Ripple, because a lot of people saying Ripple lost against the SEC or so on and so on. It's just all BS. Every single one was BS. Not a single person understands law, apparently. Apparently, that's what it looks like. Remember how I was saying there's part one and part two. Part one is you've got to have grounds before you can appeal the case. You got to choose which sector of the case you want to appeal, and you've got to have grounds. And that's part one. that everybody keeps on talking about. Oh, they're going to appeal. They're going to appeal. This is it. Game over for Ripple. SEC is going to appeal again. Ripple is going to tank again. Part two, everybody tends to leave out of their tweets. Part two is rejection or approval for the appeal. It's not SEC appeals, case continues forward. No, that's not how the law works. SEC appeals, the judge has to decide appeal, approve, or appeal, rejection, which most likely is going to be appeal, rejection, which now legal experts are coming out and saying they don't think the SEC's appeal is going to be successful. But before, everybody was chanting, SEC appeals, this case continues forward, it's going for another 3 years, XRP tanks 20%. And I said, everybody's tweeting for engagement farming, in other words, clickbait. And now legal experts are coming out and saying, if they do appeal, it's going to get rejected. Wow, I never saw that coming. By the way, that's me being sarcastic. I definitely saw that coming. It was obviously going to be a massive rejection, even if the SEC tries. This is why I said the best move for the SEC is pretend it never happened, move forward. XRP's price reacted positively to the recent mint of RL USD, surging 62 cents. The increase reflects a 5.44% gain over the last 24 hours, accompanied by a 60% rise in the trading volumes. However, recent CoinGate analysis have also hinted at a potential 25% crash if the XRP price appeals and the SEC situation happens, which is an absolute load of BS. There's two scenarios. They can appeal, yes, but if they do, it's going to get rejection. So it's either they don't appeal and it moves on, or they do appeal and it gets rejected. There is no hope in hell that that appeal is going to be approved. There's not a single hope in hell that that appeal is going to be approved. If they do appeal. I think the wholesale CBDC will become a digital pounds. I will just try my best with my small portfolio and build up over the years. Let's go. Worst case scenario, work for CoinMove, then try again. Why is it worst case scenario, work for CoinMove? Why can it be best case scenario, work for CoinMove? Or good case scenario, work for CoinMove? I'm just joking with you. Wholesale CBDCs be equivalent to or converted to crypto assets? If so, how? Can wholesale CBDCs be equivalent or converted to crypto assets? If so, how? No, they can't be. They might at the beginning make CBDCs connect to stablecoins in some sort of a way. I think wholesale CBDCs can be converted to digital pounds. That digital pounds is retail pounds. Stablecoin, maybe at the beginning. Sorry, got worded wrong. Miles, outside the topic, do you have a property for sale in the UK when everything up and running to sell for crypto? Yes, we do. We have a lot of properties available in the UK. Yep. You think I'm going to shake hands with a president Kenya one day as CEO of CX? Let's go. You think I will get there? Why not? I believe you will get there. You keep your head down. You stop, focusing and building on your company. What I can see, Kamal, from all the messages that you do send me on your updates on so far your progress on your own startup company, your blockchain startup company, why not? You could one day be shaking the hands of that CEO. I mean, as a CEO, the president of Kenya, why not? Honestly, keep it as your head's down, you're focused. I've seen your progress. I believe you can make it 100%. Heard the person who worked for the SEC and left apparently said they are looking to appeal. Remember, Miles? Yeah, no, that person from the SEC was talking out his ass. I'll be honest with you. Did John Deaton said, I think SEC will appeal? Yeah, John Deaton also tries to ramp up some for engagements as well. Are you kidding me? Because best case scenario, work for CoinMove, get paid, and crypto with a bonus paid to include the world's best caviar and some champagne cases thrown in as well. Let's go. Worst case, safe. Yeah. Let's go. Happy Pisces for making me feel better. And what else? The comment. Now, central banks. Central banks adapting Ripple's XRP for global settlement payments. So There was a video that resurfaced, or surfaced, you could say, from James Wallace, the vice president of the central bank engagement at Ripple. In this video, in a live interview, James Wallace said that, Himo, how you doing? Hi. Welcome to the CMF. Thoughts on Miles? I'm worth more than an employee, I hope. Thoughts on Miles? Now, central banks adapting Ripple XRP for global payments and settlements. So James Wallace is the vice president of the central bank engagement at Ripple. And he did an interview, a live interview, and he was asked the question of central banks and are they going to be using blockchain technology? Are central banks going to be using blockchain technology? Is it going to be private blockchain technology, public blockchain technology, or private blockchain technology? Or are they going to be designing their own ones and so on? So James Wallace said, basically, he confirmed that primary banks are adapting XRP for cross-border payments. Now, I've seen the video, and I can also confirm that James Wallace did say these words. And I'll put the video inside a Telegram group of this live show. So James Wallace did say these words when he was asked the question of, is XRP going to be used by central banks? And James Wallace confirmed that primary banks are adapting XRP for cross-border payments. Ripple's public XRP ledger will be used, essentially it's private for them, but also public for us, will be used to create private blockchains that give banks full control of transactions. This move aims to address concerns about decentralized systems while providing the speed and efficiency of blockchain technology. Central banks choosing a private blockchain. Wallace explained that Ripple's public ledger will be the base for the private blockchains designed for central banks. These systems will allow only authorized users, which lets central banks maintain control. This addresses central banks' hesitation to use fully decentralized systems, as they prioritize security. Ripple's public ledger has already processed billions of transactions, proving it can scale. Despite this, banks still prefer to use a permissioned network to secure their financial operations while benefiting from blockchain speeds. This move highlights a significant shift towards the broader use of blockchain in finance, with Ripple taking a key role. Now, I just want to explain one thing regarding banks saying, essentially, regarding James Wallace, who once again is the vice president of central bank engagements at Ripple. Central bank engagements at Ripple, Vice President James Wallace. He mentioned that banks are going to be using, I just want to, just in case somebody is confused and somebody does get confused later on, let me just stop the confusion. He said that banks are going to be using a private blockchain on the XRP ledger. The private blockchain is designed on the public XRP ledger to make it a private blockchain for banks to use in a very simple form. Now, a lot of people might assume, oh no, there's two chains, which means two prices for XRP. Incorrect. The private chain that's going to be used by banks, they're only making it private because it's a bank. It can't be decentralized. If a bank system is decentralized, then it's easy to compromise it. So a bank system has to be centralized. Therefore, the private chains that are being designed on the XRP ledger for centralized banks are centralized, and they're not decentralized, because decentralization means compromisation. Centralized means it's hard to penetrate it in terms of a hack. So the token itself, XRP, there's only one token. It doesn't matter if XRP operates on a public blockchain. It doesn't matter if XRP operates on the private XRP ledger for banks. The token is one token. Now, there could be two chains, which is one for private, for blockchain, for banks, and one for public XRP ledger. So private XRP ledger and private, essentially public XRP ledger. The token is one. There's only one XRP token, and operates both on the private blockchain of XRP ledger for banks and the other public XRP ledger as well. There's only one token. Now, some people might say, well, the XRP token on the private ledger is going to have a different price. Incorrect. There cannot be two separate prices for XRP token. Even if one is operating on a private XRP ledger for banks and the other one is a public XRP ledger, there's only one XRP token. Therefore, the market sets the price, which means if you have one XRP token, if you have XRP tokens on the bank, essentially XRP ledger operating at a high price point, for example, and then the retail XRP is on a public XRP ledger operating on a low price point, you can just buy the cheaper XRP token and through arbitrary sell it for the higher one, which will then again rebalance because the market sets the price. So banks have private XRP ledger, public, essentially public XRP ledgers alongside it. The private one is built upon the public one, but there's one XRP token, and it operates on the private and the public XRP ledger, and it has one price because the market sets the price. So before anyone starts tweeting out some confusing information on the XRP ledger and says private XRP ledger, you know, $1,000 tokens, and public XRP ledger, $1 tokens, incorrect. There's one token. There could be two chains, but there are one token. That token has one price. Doesn't matter if it's on this chain or that chain, it has one price. Just want to put that on there, just in case anybody gets confused on the matter. When anyone starts tweeting out random tweets and people start reading those tweets and they get confused and they go, hang on a minute, there's two prices for XRP? No. One token, two chains. Same price on both chains. Blockchain's role in banking business. Many commercial entities are also exploring blockchain technology. JP Morgan has already created JMP Coin, its own blockchain-based solution. Ripple's involvement with central banks adds momentum to this growing trend as financial institutions begin to see the advantages of cryptocurrency for cross-border payments. Ripple's XRP ledger offers immediate and low-cost transactions without needing intermediaries. Banks looking to improve their systems find this appealing when it comes to Ripple. These are all the things that this man was saying. However, central banks still prefer private blockchains that keep their financial data secure, which is understandable. Their growing use of blockchain shows how banks are changing the way they handle global transactions. Expanding financial access with blockchain. Ripple's technology also has the possibility to boost monetary integration, especially in emerging economies. Central bank digital currencies built on the company's platform, Ripple's platform, XRP Ledger, could offer low-cost services to underserved populations, allowing more people to engage in international economy. James Wallace also pointed out that CBDCs could reduce the cost of financial services, helping people build credit and access to loans. Ripple's blockchain provides a more secure and affordable foundation for these monetary units. So, that is a perspective from James Wallace, Vice President of Central Bank Engagements at Ripple, in an interview he did, where he talked about banks already using, essentially on test phases, that all banks are going to be using, pretty much, centralized banks, not private ones like JP Morgan and so on, public banks and private banks, but centralized banks we're talking about. Centralized banks, in his perspective, he did the interview, they're all going to be using it. Every single bank is going to be using it. And private for them is built upon the public XRP ledger. One token, same price. If the token is operating at this much, it's going to be operating at this much on the public one as well. So one token, same price. That's massive. Massive in the sense of James Wallace talking about it. Genuinely massive. Thank you, Miles, for explaining the private and public XRP banking. I needed to hear that. No problem, G, anytime. Yeah, I thought let me just put that one out there. So just in case anyone gets confused, or anyone reads some confusing tweets later on, some people start tweeting out random things. Good night, Miles, and the rest of the family. Funky brother, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. I've never had caviar. Does it taste like jelly balls? Tastes like fish. Where are you from? UK. Originally, I'm Persian, but I'm from the UK. Thought so, Miles, from Ian. Thanks a lot, better. Thanks a lot, brother. I've been learning from the best. Let's go, come on. Woodhouse, you're an official mod for the Crypto Mouse. You'll just be fine. Yeah. Am I worth more than an employee? Happy Pisces facts. Let's get some of this caviar, Lord. I'm an employee of the CMF right now. Banks will have 100% security. Private blockchain is for security. Exactly. Facts. I've never had the caviar. Doesn't taste like balls. No, it tastes like fish. Be very nice. Good night, Miles, and the rest of the family. I'm going to see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Thank you, Miles, for explaining the private XLP. No problem. G time. Thank you for generously sharing your knowledge, Miles. We're blessed to have you. Enjoy your night, CMF. Lena, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Miles, for all you care and energy for the CMF, please let me be an investor or give a donation into your favorite business, which you decide upon once we all make it. So proud of you. Thank you. Free and Feather, thank you so much for the kind words. And good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Miles, I hope you accept XLP. I plan to remember the algorithm is improved by your comments during and after the show. Caviar when XLP does this thing. Let's go, Scott. Another great show. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. So we've also reached the endings of tonight's live show as well. And on tonight's live show, we talked about centralized banks, a perspective coming from James Wallace. We went for the news topic of Ripple's RL USD stablecoin. We talked about John Deaton giving his moronic opinion. We talked about CIO of Giant, essentially a CIO of a giant investment company, giving his perspectives on market movements and Bitcoin. We talked about multiple perspectives from many executives on the US space in terms of user experience, regulations, banking, education, a lot of things we covered on that matter from multiple executives that did an interview of Cointelegraph, which we went through. We also talked about Vitalik Buterin on tonight's live show. Vitalik Buterin introducing a new concept on Ethereum. If you want to know what it is, watch the live show again. I also went for the news topic of Canada on tonight's live show as well, how Canada is being a bit more lenient when it comes to crypto regulations. I also went through the news topic of Bitcoin on tonight's live show, the CMF live show, regarding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, demand going absolutely through the roof in Brazil. I also have the news topic on regarding BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest on tonight's live show as well. Right at the beginning of the live show, went through that. So if you enjoyed this live show, this live show is called the CMF. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. This was episode 168 of the CMF live show. And on this live show, every single night, you can tune in 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of news, in terms of cryptocurrency news, CBDC news, AI news, political news, regulation news, vital information for you to know about regarding the world transforming into a digital era. And we also do Q&As on this live show as well. So if you have any questions, put it down in the comment section, is what I always say. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and what advice is only for entertainment purposes. So if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like. If you're watching it for the first time ever, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, subscribe. If you already haven't, if you're watching this on X right now, follow. If you essentially haven't already and you're watching this for the first time, tune in every single night. We also have our own Telegram group, which anybody's more than welcome to join. It's completely free and absolutely amazing place to be in. And everybody's very respectful. So if you enjoy this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. For everyone, also thank you so much to everyone that's retweeted this live show. Thank you so much to everyone that's liked this live show on X and retweeted on X and followed me on X. And thanks so much to everyone that's subscribed to me on YouTube and liked this video on YouTube that's watching right now as well. So we have reached the endings of tonight's live show. And Sam, thank you so much for the £20 donation on YouTube on this live show as well. Thank you so much for that, Sam, as well. Absolutely amazing. It's going straight to CMF Hedge Fund. I hope there is. Share the live, family. Let's go. Another great job tonight, Miles. Let's go. Scott, see you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. I hope there is something good about this caviar. I've been looking forward to. I'm going to check me a lottery now. Check me a lottery. I meant to write, Miles, I hope that you accept XLP. I plan to purchase caviar when XLP does this thing. I have never tasted caviar. No problem. Good night, Miles and family. Great live as many. See you. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Glad to be in this live show. I don't know when I will be back. Obviously busy. See you next time. See you next time, Woodhouse. Good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Orphans, see you tomorrow. Scott, CMF, please share the live if you don't mind. Let's go. Definitely. Great live as usual, Miles. Thank you for all your crypto date news and information. Much appreciated. Let's go, JD. No problem, brother. Anytime. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Also, Miles, check my deal. No problem. I'll check it out. Replying after the live helps the algorithm tremendously. Definitely does. If you do get a chance, put a comment after the live show is done. After this live has ended, If you don't mind, just drop a comment after the live show is done on the video itself, on the tweet, for example, or on the YouTube video, thumbs up, a fire emoji, or whatever you want to write. Definitely helps with the algorithm to grow the family. Thank you very much again, Miles, for what you do. I really appreciate it. Carlos, no problem, anytime. Let's go. Good night, Miles. Stay with that energy. God bless. Let's go, Sam. See you tomorrow as usual. I just give you 100 likes, bro. Let's go. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That's absolutely amazing. Another great job tonight, Miles. We have no other chance but to become successful and financially fit through our family gathering nightly. Let's go. Please review the tape program. And Miles, I DM you. No problem. Scott, I'll definitely check it out. DM as well. Thank you so much to and thank you so much for 100 likes as well. Sam, thank you so much for the £20 donation. Absolutely amazing. Straight to the CMF hedge fund. Thanks so much to everyone from the CMF that tunes in every single night. Thanks so much for all the donations. I'll be seeing everybody tomorrow or tonight because, again, it's 1 a.m. So I'll be seeing everyone tonight. 11 is 1 a.m. now, but it's the next day basically. So I'll be seeing everyone 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. So if you want to tune into this live show at the beginning, tune in 11:30, 11:25 p.m. UK time. UK time, United Kingdom time. See everybody tonight. Same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. CMF, see you tonight. Same time as usual.